The wind howled like a restless spirit that night, whipping through the trees surrounding the old cabin where Alex, Jessie, and Tyler sought refuge. Outside, the snowstorm raged on, burying the landscape under a thick, relentless blanket of white. It was as if the world beyond their little wooden haven had vanished, swallowed whole by the swirling tempest. Inside, the fire crackled in the hearth, sending occasional pops and hisses into the quiet room. Despite the flickering flames, a chill permeated the air, wrapping itself around the friends like a heavy cloak. Alex sat near the fire, his eyes fixed on the flames, trying to convince himself that everything was fine. Jessie and Tyler were quiet, their faces pale, reflecting the growing unease that settled over them since their unsettling visit to the strange town earlier that day. Jessie was the first to break the silence. She glanced nervously at the window, her brow furrowed. "This place, there's something wrong with it," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the wind's mournful cries. Alex looked up, frowning. "It's just a storm, Jess." "We knew the weather would be rough," he replied, attempting to keep his tone light. But Jessie shook her head, her dark hair falling over her eyes. "No, it's more than that. The people in that town, the way they looked at us. It was like they knew something we didn't. Like they were hiding something." Tyler, usually the calm and collected one, sat forward in his chair, his fingers nervously drumming on the table. "I don't know what it is, but I felt it too. The whole town felt wrong. Cold. Not just the weather, but like there was something in the air, something heavy." Alex sighed, rubbing his hands together as if to create warmth. "We're just spooked. We've been driving for hours, and now we're stuck here because of the snow. Of course, it feels strange." Jessie's gaze remained locked on the window. "I keep hearing things," she murmured, almost to herself. "Voices. Whispering." The moment those words left her lips, a shiver crept down Alex's spine. He shot her a concerned look. "Whispering? Where?" Jessie hesitated, glancing around as if the shadows themselves were listening. "It's coming from outside, but it doesn't sound like the wind. It sounds like someone's out there, whispering, just at the edge of the trees." Tyler stood up, moving to Jessie's side. He peered out the window, squinting against the swirling snow. But there was nothing. Just the howling wind and the dark silhouettes of the trees swaying ominously. "Maybe it's just the wind through the trees," he suggested, though even he sounded uncertain. Jessie shook her head again, her voice growing more urgent. "No. It's not the wind. It sounds like voices, but I can't make out what they're saying." The three of them stood there in silence, listening intently. Outside, the storm raged, but the whispers, soft, insistent, seemed to dance around them, circling like predators. Alex felt his pulse quicken as he strained to hear, and the air felt charged, as if something unseen was just beyond the cabin walls. "Okay, maybe we're all just tired," Alex suggested, his voice wavering. "It's been a long day. Let's try to get some sleep, and we can figure things out in the morning." But as he spoke, the whispers grew louder. They weren't quite words yet, but they had a rhythm. A cadence that sent chills racing down his spine. Jessie backed away from the window, her eyes wide with fear. "Alex, we can't stay here. We need to leave. Now." Tyler's brow furrowed, his voice a low whisper. "We can't go anywhere in this storm. The roads are already buried. We'd get lost." But Jessie wasn't listening. She shook her head vehemently. No. We need to go. We need to get out of here. Suddenly, a loud thump echoed against the side of the cabin, startling all three of them. It was a sound that cut through the tension like a knife, making the hair on their arms stand on end. What the hell was that? Alex whispered, his heart racing. They all stood frozen, eyes wide, listening intently for another sound. The wind screamed outside, but the whispers had quieted, replaced by an eerie stillness. Then came another thump. This time, it felt closer, right outside the window where Jessie had been standing. Tyler, his resolve hardening, grabbed a flashlight from the table. "I'm gonna check it out," he announced. "Are you crazy?" Jessie hissed, her eyes darting to the door. "You can't go out there." "We need to know what it is," Tyler replied, shaking her off. "It's probably just a tree branch or something. Maybe an animal." But deep down, none of them truly believed that. The thought of something lurking in the darkness made their skin crawl. Tyler opened the door just enough to shine the flashlight outside. The beam cut through the swirling snow, revealing nothing but the relentless storm and the black silhouettes of the trees. For a brief moment, it felt as if the darkness itself was alive, watching them. And then they saw it. Footprints. Fresh tracks leading away from the cabin and into the depths of the forest. The impressions were deep and large, suggesting something heavy had walked through the snow not long ago. Tyler's hand trembled as he slowly closed the door, his face pale. "There's someone out there." Alex felt his heart drop. "Are you sure?" Tyler nodded, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Yeah." And they were right by the cabin. The whispers had returned, low and haunting, wrapping around them like a fog. Jessie backed away from the door, shaking her head as if to dismiss the horrors brewing in her mind. "We shouldn't have come here. We need to go. I don't care about the storm. We have to leave." But before anyone could respond, there was another sound. A slow, creaking noise that reverberated through the cabin. It was unsettling, almost deliberate. It came from upstairs. The three friends stared at the ceiling, their hearts pounding in their chests. No one had gone upstairs since they arrived. The air grew thick with tension, and a sense of dread settled heavily over them. "Maybe it's just the house settling," Alex said, trying to reassure himself, though he didn't believe it. Tyler shook his head, his expression grim. "No. That wasn't the house." They stood in silence, straining to listen for the sound again. But the creaking had stopped, leaving only the crackling of the fire and the wind outside. Jessie took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "I'm not going up there." Tyler nodded, his face pale. "Neither am I." For what felt like an eternity, they remained silent, the weight of their fear pressing down on them. Then Alex spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "We need to stay together. Whatever happens, we stay together." As the night dragged on, the whispers began again, fainter this time, but still there, echoing through the cabin. They seemed to grow louder with each passing moment, curling around them like an insidious fog. Alex's pulse raced as he glanced at Jessie and Tyler. What if it's not just the wind? What if something, is trying to get in? Tyler scoffed, but there was a tremor in his voice. "Come on, man. It's probably just our imagination. We've been cooped up here for too long." But as he said it, the air in the cabin felt electric. The whispers swelled, almost like they were responding to Tyler's skepticism. They were insistent now, more distinct, twisting around their ears like a song they couldn't quite understand. Jessie's breath quickened, and she clutched Alex's arm. "I can't take this anymore. I feel like we're being watched." Suddenly, they all froze. From upstairs, there was a distinct sound, a soft thud, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps. The kind that sends chills racing down your spine. "What was that?" Alex whispered, his heart pounding. I don't know," Jessie stammered, her eyes wide with terror. Tyler moved closer to the staircase, straining to listen. "We should check it out. If someone is up there." "No. We can't go up there," Jessie interrupted, her voice rising in panic. "What if it's a ghost? What if it's one of those townspeople?" Before Tyler could respond, the footsteps resumed, echoing down the hall from the second floor, slow and methodical, as if whatever was up there was taking its time. The sound crept closer, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over them. "Stay here," Tyler said, his voice firm as he grabbed the flashlight again. He took a step toward the staircase, but Jessie grabbed his arm, her grip tight and desperate. "Tyler, please don't," she begged, her voice shaking. "We need to get out of here." But before he could respond, a loud bang echoed from upstairs, a heavy thud that shook the walls and sent a shower of dust falling from the ceiling. They all jumped back, fear flooding their bodies. The whispers grew louder now, swirling around them, drowning out their thoughts. It felt like they were trapped in a nightmare, the boundaries of reality blurring as panic took hold. Okay, Alex said, his heart racing. "Let's just calm down. We need to think this through." But as he spoke, the whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar, drowning out his words. It was no longer just a murmur. It was a cacophony, a chaotic symphony of voices that screamed of madness and despair. "We have to leave," Jessie shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. "Now." Tyler nodded, his face pale with fear. "But the snow." Before he could finish, another thud resounded from above, and then the light flickered. The fire crackled angrily, its flames dancing wildly before dimming. The room was cast into a flickering twilight, shadows stretching and twisting across the walls. Alex felt a surge of panic. "We need to go. Now." They rushed toward the door, but before they could reach it, the whispers reached a fever pitch, almost forming words, warning them, taunting them. "Stay with us forever." The words echoed in their minds, sending a cold shiver racing down their spines. Tyler hesitated, glancing back toward the stairs, torn between his instincts and the mounting terror in the room. What if we can't get out? What if we're trapped? As if in response, the door slammed shut, the wind outside howling like a beast. The friends jumped back, heartbeats racing, fear gripping them tightly. The whispers faded, leaving only an unsettling silence that filled the cabin. Alex's voice trembled as he turned to his friends. "We can't stay here. We can't let whatever is out there get to us." They huddled together, adrenaline coursing through their veins, fear etched on their faces. As the wind screamed outside, the cabin seemed to close in on them, the walls whispering secrets that were never meant to be heard. And in that chilling moment, they realized they were not just trapped by the storm. They were ensnared in a web of darkness, caught in a nightmare they couldn't escape. Whatever was out there was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The night wore on, stretching into a dark abyss of terror and uncertainty, as the three friends clung to each other, knowing that whatever awaited them in the shadows, it was far from over. And as the clock ticked ominously on, the whispers grew closer, weaving around them like a dark cloak. The shadows deepened, and the darkness was alive, ready to reveal its secrets. They would soon discover the true meaning of fear.